here when we were flatlining,
The reasons why you flatline, there are several reasons why you flatline. One reason is that you've identified something in your matrix, in your plan, it could be a shaping goal, that is not within your control. So therefore, you can't influence that particular activity. You actually have to wait for someone to do something. So if that's the case, you might find that you don't make progress until this other person or these other people or this other government body or whoever
allow you to
show that it's completed. So that's one reason that you might flatline. If you're in that sort of position, what I would do would simply be to identify all those activities that are within your control, even if it means submitting something to someone and then waiting for them, breaking that down into a smaller component, so at least it shows that you've done everything you can. You can also include things like follow-up, a follow-up call, a follow-up email to show that you are actually working on
trying as hard as you possibly
can. So that's one thing. A second thing might be that you've identified something that you thought was relatively easy to do, but it's a lot more complex, and so the whole action or activity is far broader than you had originally expected.
And this, if you remember, I said shaping goals are free.
Correct.
So what should you do?
You should break it down into small, manageable bits.
Yeah, so you've made one shaping goal that is really too big for the complexity of the task.
Correct.
And you should split it
up. If you have a shaping goal which is to build a house, that's going to take a long time. Whereas if you break down that into a number of smaller goals like engage an architect, have plans drawn up, get council approval, etc. You're breaking it down into smaller bits and you'll be able to see progress.
And every shaping goal is an opportunity for R+.
Correct.
When you do it.
Correct.
Okay, third?
The third one is what we call task interference. And by that I mean that you've identified things on your plan that with all best intents you intend to do, but something is now interfering with your ability to do these things. For example, you might be called away on a special project, which means you can't work on these things. Maybe you're ill and you physically can't get out of bed, so you can't make progress on these issues. If that's the case, you should clearly identify that so that you understand why you weren't making progress. It wasn't your fault, right? And especially if you're using this to measure an individual's performance or a team's performance, and you say to them, hey, why haven't you made progress? Be able to use this as a healthy reminder to say, oh, boss, that's because you took us away on our daily work and you put us on this special project for these few months.
I can see a couple of options. One, when you get task interference, one is you can use your matrix to clearly
delineate that.
Yeah, and put a note on the graph.
On it, correct.
Say what's happening. The other, of course, probably the obvious one, is you could actually include the interfering task as a new pinpoint on your performance matrix.
If you wished, it's up to you. I think that's an agreement you need to make with your boss.
But that way you could at least get some priority via the weighting on that new task and maybe take some priority off another existing task.
Exactly.
Last but not least,
you're not getting any reinforcement from completing any of the actions that you've identified.
I've got a reason that might be happening. If your matrix is not on display and no one can see it, it's unlikely that they're going to give you any positive reinforcement.
That's correct, and that's why you need to keep these things visible.
Yeah, it's for yourself and also for others.
Keep them visible for yourself because it acts as a daily prompt that you should be doing something, and for others, it gives them an opportunity to provide you with positive reinforcement. And we have certainly seen that happen over the years that we've been teaching this.
Yeah. I think on that note, visibility of your matrix is one of the keys. Flatlining and getting behind are all part of performance. It's to be expected that difficulties will emerge and things will interfere. Performance matrix is actually a tool that allows you to manage those difficulties.